What's good, everyone? It's Steve from Sneaker Tech Talk, back with another video today. For today's video, we will be taking a first look at the Nike Freak 7. So without further ado, let's take a look at this model. All right, before we take a look at the shoes, I do want to take a look at the box. You do have this really cool kind of black and green box with his logo at the top. The size tag label does read Giannis Freak 7 Total Orange and Hyper Pink. I did get these in a US size 10.5. You have Freak 7 on this side and nothing else on the other side from the label. But without further ado, let's take a look at his 7th signature shoe. Alright, so as far as the aesthetics go, right off the bat, the design, I do really like the design of this shoe. The kind of wave patterns, the backward swoosh. This colorway, in my opinion, is elite. I'm really enjoying the overall look of this model, and the price point of 145 Canadian, I think 110 USD, is great. Obviously, Nike Basketball has a ton of signature athletes, and I did think they had to mark down one of their signature athletes' lines to be a bit cheaper, and I'm happy they did that with this model and his signature line in general, because it's going to kind of open the door to a lot more kids and families in general to wear a signature shoe at a cheaper price. And we all know these shoes go on sale, so as soon as they hit the sales rack, they'll be well under $100. But as always, starting with the traction pattern, you are getting this aggressive multi-directional traction pattern right here. I believe it says his last name right here, Antetokounmpo. You have a orange solid rubber compound and then this gray kind of semi-translucent compound right here. It will be interesting to see how these perform on court, but from the overall look, I am liking what I'm seeing so far. Now, moving away from the midsole, they aren't using Zoom Air anymore. They're using a Cushlon 3.0 cushioning system in this model. I will say I tried these on in Portland in August. I didn't grab them because I just wasn't able to bring them back with me. But the cushioning underfoot, like this midsole is very soft, and whatever is directly under this insole, like I remember trying these on and I was like, wow, for a Cushlon only midsole, these are extremely comfortable. I tried these on upstairs before this video and I was like, yep, I'm liking what they're offering here with the Cushlon 3.0. It's very thick at the back. You do sit pretty deep within the shoe, but I think the court feel is going to be decent. You're going to get some nice impact protection at the back. But time will tell on how it breaks down, how it performs, and I'm looking forward to that because after all, this is an initial look at this model, but so far I am liking how they feel underfoot as far as the cushioning goes with that full-length slab of Cushlon 3.0. As far as the fit goes, I did go true to size in this model. My standard 10.5, my toe is seated right around here at the end of the shoe. Really no issue so far as the try-on goes, but I did watch Chris's performance review, Nightwing, and he was saying this shoe does push his foot over just a little bit to where his big toe is kind of slamming up here on the medial side. We'll see if that happens to me. I kind of have a regular or almost narrow foot, so I don't think the width or anything will be an issue, but the last is definitely similar to a lot of the lasts that Nike tends to use on their shoes, where it kind of pushes your foot over just a little bit. But so far from my initial try-on, they're pretty comfortable. You have a ton of padding at the back, a lot of padding on the tongue. The tongue is gusseted. You have a pretty traditional lacing system right here with these little kind of like string eyelets. Really liking the overall look again of this model. But from my initial try-on of the Freak 7, definitely a good looking and comfy shoe so far. Then as far as the materials go, you're not going to get anything special. You kind of have a cheap mesh at the back and a screen mesh at the front. You have some fuse overlays right here, almost like a nubuck midsole, which is really weird. It has the texture of nubuck, and then you kind of have this almost memory foam or neoprene siding right here. The swoosh is really nice. It kind of has lines going through it, a pink swoosh at that with the yellow border. At the top of the tongue, you have some more of that kind of really nice neoprene at the top, and then running down the tongue, you do have a mesh tongue. It is pretty lightweight, and it seems like it's going to be rather breathable. And then more of that kind of wave pattern on the medial side. Again, these aren't anything premium. It's a really cheap upper, but keep in mind the price point of like $100 or $110 USD. You're not going to get any nubucks or suedes, but I think this is going to perform just fine once they're broken in. The part that's probably going to take the longest to break in is this kind of screen mesh here running down the middle. It does feel pretty crispy, and this fuse portion right here, which is obviously there to add an extra layer of protection for people that do kind of do toe offs or toe drags. So nothing special as far as the materials go, but I do think they will get the job done. Now I will have to confirm as far as the support goes on a couple things, but starting at the back of the shoe, you have this really rigid internal heel counter. It is plastic like a TPU. This Cushlon midsole does wrap up around the back of the shoe, and your foot is seated housed within this portion as well for extra layered protection. And then this kind of wing on the side, your foot is all seated housed within the midsole cushioning and this black kind of more rigid wing right here. So I do think on hard lateral cuts, this should contain your foot rather nicely, but obviously time will tell. At the bottom of the shoe, you have a pretty wide and stable base, especially through the midfoot. But the one thing I wasn't able to confirm or find out just yet is if there is a shank plate, but it is very, and I mean insanely rigid, running through the midfoot right here. So I will find that out and I'll throw it on the screen to see if there is a midfoot shank plate, but it kind of checks all the boxes. It just depends on how these eyelets with these little kind of strings tie down. It doesn't look like they run into the Strobel board, sorry, but we will have to see on how these kind of tie down this eyelet system here. But overall, as far as the support goes, I think it will be adequate, but keep in mind this is a rather cheap model for basketball, lifestyle, you name it. Nike definitely went with the cheaper route, but I'm not mad at the Cushlon 3.0 setup because for my initial try on, these are very comfortable. One last thing I did not cover as far as the insole goes, you are getting a standard kind of Ortholite insole, and it is glued down, so if you want to take that out before you play in them, before they kind of get stuck to the Strobel board, I would definitely do that. I think I'll leave it in there for me for now. I want to kind of play with them as is, kind of the stock model that these are. One other thing I didn't mention as well as far as the fit and the tie down is you have these little eyelets right here, these bottom four, but then you have these two right here that look like they're definitely going to draw you into the heel and really lock you in place because they kind of wrap around the top of your foot right here, and they kind of add an extra layer of protection when you are pulling the laces, as you can see right here. So time will tell on how these perform, like I said, but that is a cool added layer of protection as far as kind of adding a little more support and just offering a very snug fit within the back of the shoe. And then like I mentioned, the design I really like. I think this is a gorgeous looking shoe. I'm not mad at it at all. For me, this is definitely the best colorway so far. I do like loud colorways, and this orange, black, and pink kind of check all the boxes. But I want to ask you guys a question. What do you guys think of his line? I do think it's kind of getting to that point where Paul George's line was getting to, where it's kind of getting some fatigue as far as the designs go. I think this is one of the better ones in a long time, but do Giannis shoes sell like they used to? Or have they ever sold like a lot of signature athletes' shoes do? I'm not sure that they do. I can tell you right now that probably 95% of his colorways are 100% outlet bound. And I don't think that's a bad thing because honestly, most basketball shoes nowadays, even Anthony Edwards towards the end of his AE1s were going to outlets for like 60% off. But do you guys think that they should cancel his line? I'm not sure how much longer he has on his contract with Nike, but as you saw with Paul George, after his line ended, he kind of went to Kobe's, and there has been some rumors of Nike retroing the PG line. But do you guys see a future in the Freak line? I don't think he's that old. I think he's in his early 30s, if not like just 30. So we'll have to see on what Nike does with his line, but this is his 7th signature shoe after all. So, we're 7 years in. Do we go to 10? Do we go to 15? I just don't know if he kind of has that stay power as much as like Kevin Durant did. Obviously Kobe, not that they're making any more signature shoes for Kobe, they're just retroing his stuff. But do you want to see the Freak line continue? For me, I'm kind of impartial to the whole topic. But that's going to do it for today's video on the first look of the Nike Freak 7. Sound off in the comments what you guys think of this model and this shoe in general. And if you've played in them, let me know down in the comments. How does this shoe perform? I'll be lacing them up this weekend and into next week to get a performance review out for you guys in the next week or two, but definitely excited to play in his 7th signature shoe. As always, if you guys could like, comment, and subscribe, that would really help the channel a ton. And check out my Instagram over at Sneaker Tech Talk, as it is an extension of my YouTube channel with all my pickups, basketball footage, and nostalgia as a whole. As always, thanks for watching today's video, and until next time, peace.